Hi guys, Jason's here, Jason's Trucking Info, and if you've never been here before, this channel is all about teaching all truck drivers how to be even better truck drivers. And today I'm going to go over some things for driving in winter and things you got to deal with when dropping and picking up your trailers.
Alright, it's winter time and there's a few things that aren't typically talked about on a lot of YouTube videos that I'm going to go over that you might have to deal with in winter time when it's cold out and below, when you're dealing with all this snow and stuff. And one thing I've had to deal with, and I've had to learn some stuff the hard way the last couple of weeks. I ruined some tires. I dragged some tires for a long time because I didn't realize they were dragging, because my brakes had frozen to the brake drums on a couple of my tires and I couldn't tell it from the seat of the truck. I thought I would always be able to tell something like that. I've always been able to feel stuff like that, and if you feel resistance, I've always been able to feel that from the cab of the truck when driving, and I was not able to feel it. So what happens is they take these tankers, and this can happen to anybody. It can even happen to trailers and equipment that don't go into warm buildings and stuff, but typically it's something I gotta deal with a little more because these tankers, food grade tankers, go into a warm bay inside of a building, and then they hook up all kinds of hoses. They empty out all the egg that they can out of it, and then they got to wash it out, and then they use hot water and chemicals. And what happens when you use a lot of hot water and you're cleaning all that out? Think about all the moisture, just like when you take a hot shower, all that steam and stuff that goes into the air, it gets all over everything. Well, that gets on the brakes, that gets on everything, and then if it goes outside directly afterwards and it hasn't had a chance to dry some before they stick it outside in the below freezing temperatures, they go park that, and then guess what happens? When they park that, the brakes set, right? Because there's nothing hooked up, there's no air going through the lines to keep the brakes from setting. When the brakes set, and if there's moisture between the brake pads and the brake drums and it's below freezing, well, they're gonna freeze together, right? Okay, so that's one thing. And then sometimes it can get into the brake lines, but not so commonly, because there's usually enough stuff in the way to keep the moisture from getting in the lines, but it can happen. And all sorts of stuff can get froze up from all that moisture. Depending on how much moisture gets onto whatever on that trailer can depend on what stuff is going to be frozen together that's going to cause you problems when trying to drive down the road. So I'm going to go over a few things that I've had to learn the hard way, and some of the things that they've showed me about how to kind of deal with it. So I'm going to go over that with you guys. I'm going to show you what I've had to do so that you guys maybe can avoid this, and I can also teach you, show you a couple things on these trailers that Randy's does, so that helps drivers out. So, all right, here in a minute I'm going to let's move the tripod over and I'll show you a few things.
Okay, most trucks have a differential lock that will lock in all four tires and make them drive all together. But apparently, if I'm right, I don't want to tell you wrong, just in case I'm telling you wrong, but I think that it doesn't seem that the differential on this truck works the same way as most like Freightliners and a lot of the other trucks. When you put the differential in on this truck, it just locks in the two driving tires, the tires that have all the power, which is the front axle of the two axles. And I believe on the Freightliners that I'm used to driving, it's the back axle, I think. I don't want to tell you wrong. I'm not a diesel mechanic, so if I'm giving you wrong info, don't shoot me. But there's this other button here, and what this basically does when you push it in, it supposedly lifts the dead axle that's just a riding axle to have more support for all the weight of the trailer, and helps it become more of a single axle truck. So all the power, all the weight is kind of on the axle that has all the power. So it lifts it up. So you push this in and it raises the rear axle up. So the middle axle, the main power axle, has all the weight so that it helps improve the traction. That's the idea behind it anyway. So it's not as good as what I'm used to, and I have almost gotten stuck in a few places and spent a lot of time having to rock myself in and out of the middle of some truck stop parking lots, trying to back into a parking spot at a Love's before, and trying to back in my trailer even here at David City, where I backed my trailer up into the thing. I was literally stuck on the street because it was so icy, and even with the light bit of sand, between having super singles and not having as much power and not having 4 tires doing the work, I also had all that weight of the liquid egg I was fighting against. It had been an empty trailer. I don't know, I think I would have been better off if I had been lighter. I'm not sure, but I think that was part of my problem, of because I was trying to work against slight inclines, which on the icy surfaces. So that was one thing. So that's one thing that I've had to learn. I'm not used to having that situation, so that was a little bit of a learning curve for me. So let's go out here and I'll show you another thing that you should be in practice of, especially if your trailers and equipment go into warm buildings and come out and they might get moisture on them. And you might learn something, because this is going to be a little bit different. This isn't going to be about how to drive on winter roads. There are a gazillion videos on that out there. I don't think I need to go showing you that. Everybody talks about that. So let's show you something that maybe you don't hear about as much. So can anybody tell me why these yellow straps are on all the trailer tires? Anybody tell me that? They're on that side, and they're on this passenger side as well. Just these plastic or vinyl plastic deals that have been put on all the trailer tires. Anybody tell me why that might be? I couldn't figure it out. By the end of the video, I'll tell you what those are about. Next, we're going to move on to the next thing. So those yellow straps are actually very, very helpful, and it's very, very smart to have them on. And I'll explain to you why. Hopefully you guys can figure it out. They're especially good during winter time. Alright guys, not only good for thumping tires, the other thing you need is a good heavy hammer. I'm going to show you why. Don't just bring a regular household hammer for around the house. One of those small little do-it-yourself hammers from around the house. Those might work for thumping tires, but that's about it. You actually want to get a bigger hammer. You want to get a good 2-3 pound sledgehammer, especially during winter, especially if you're dealing with brakes freezing up from time to time. This is a hammer I had. I've got a couple heavy hammers at home that are shaped with different shaped heads on them. One of them's got a pointed head with a flat, and you know, I've got different hammers at home for different reasons. But this one I brought on the truck for thumping tires, and it turns out that I actually need it for winter, and I'm going to explain why right now. First of all,
what we need to do is start the truck, hook up the air lines, and then push the trailer air line in to get the air going into the brakes on the trailer. So very important. So let's do that. On Randy's trucks, he's got all these silver knobs instead of the traditional red and yellow. He's got these silver knobs. So the left is usually the trailer, and that's what they are on these trucks. We go in and we push the left knob, which is the trailer brake knob. Forgot to idle the truck. What you're looking for right here is you see that gap right there? You can see it. That's what you want to see that the brakes have released. The other way you can tell is by taking your hammer. If you hear a hollow sound, then you know that they're released. This side as well. You see that? You can see the gap. That way you can tell that those brake shoes are not frozen to the drum. You want to see that on all four sides. If not, you want to hit them. And you're gonna have to learn the difference between the pitch of the more solid dead sound and the more open ringing sound of the drum when you hit them with your hammer. And you hit it with this. So anybody figure out what those yellow straps are for yet? Is it obvious? I'll explain it to you in a second. I couldn't figure it out. I had no idea what they were for. And I felt really stupid when I found out what they were for. I'm going to show you what those yellow straps are for now. Pushing my trailer brakes. And then let's see. Hopefully we can get a good view of that. Alright. I'm going to pull forward. Do you see them things moving? That's what you want to see, is you want to see those things moving. And then you want to check the other side.
make sure that all 4 tires to help release them after you've released your brakes, so that they're trying to pull away from the things. If you do it when they're set, then they're just going to be putting pressure on the brake drum, and you're never going to know if they're released, because they're just going to keep pressing. But if you release the trailer brakes and then you go smack on them, then they should pop away, and then you know that they're released, because you should see that little tiny gap right there like I showed you. That's what they're for. If that still don't work, then you might have to call somebody. Another thing that I was having to do is put antifreeze down the trailer line, and then push the trailer line into well, you take you set the brakes, take the trailer line off with no air going through it, obviously, and then dump antifreeze into the trailer line a little at a time. Put it back on, release your brakes again, so the air is going through that line and through the system, and that antifreeze should go through the lines and clear out any ice and stuff that could be built up in the lines. So that's another thing that you can do. Other than that, this is just stuff I recently learned, and I'm sharing it with you guys. I'm trying to share what I learned with you guys. So if anybody has any other info on this and has any other suggestions, please leave your comments in the comment section below. Any questions that you have. A lot of times, guys, other truck drivers will watch these videos and they'll put their comments below, and so I always encourage people, when they're watching a how-to video, that you read the comments in the comment section, because you never know who might put some sort of comment or add another detail or something that might just help out people learn even more about this stuff, about anything. So anyway, thanks guys for watching, and I hope you learned a lot from this video. Hopefully you learned some things. These are some things that you don't really see a lot of on YouTube. Normally when you see winter driving tips, it's a lot of other stuff, and you get a lot of the same info over and over and over again. I was hoping that this information would be something that wouldn't be such a repeat of information that you see all the time. So thanks guys, and please hit the like below, leave any comments, questions. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so, and hit the bell button below so that you'll be notified of all my upcoming videos as I post them. Thanks guys, and be safe out there.